Critiques for a critic. Here we go. Your videos are proof you have some mental health disorder. I'm a YouTuber. That really is literally all the evidence you need. They just lock you up for that, don't they? Next. You are spewing insults. Irony? Get some help if you can. So I've said something you don't agree with. How about the 13th constellation? There's your star change. Okay, so, Ophiuchus. Slampahamsterus. No, Ophiuchus is the astrological term it has the astrological term snake bearer. It's located between the constellation of Aquilia, Serpens, and Hercules. Those are not astrological things. Those are, you know, constellations. Just northwest of the Milky Way on our star globe we're working with here. During winter in the northern hemisphere, the constellation remains invisible to most latitudes. So it's a redacted constellation or whatever. So calling it the 13th constellation, there's many, many constellations. The 13th sign is the snake bearer. The number 13 is like 666 and a bunch of other things. People have been conditioned to have a problem with it. For instance, someone decided that having a number signify a person, but it has 3 6s in a row, meant that it couldn't possibly be real, even though that's a assertion effectively. But anyway, if you were born between November 29th and December 17th, you've been living a lie your whole life, or at least reading the wrong horoscopes. Horoscope. Scope of horrors. Or horoscopes. Look, that's not a sign of the literal patterns in the sky changing. That's people ignoring stuff. Or changing what they're calling things. That's not the same thing. And by you saying the 13th constellation, you're deliberately avoiding saying which one. So that's why I've brought this information up. I'm in favor of a 13-month calendar with 28 days per month and making it all nice and neat. But there's an actual set of reasons we have months that are this weird, screwed up timing that I've never been able to get in my head. I've never really liked it. I don't like things that... I like time to actually match, you know, stuff like, you know, the things that actually change over time, like the moons and stars and stuff. But the claim here is that if you're saying that the universe has changed and that we've changed from one arm to the other of the Milky Way, the star patterns would dramatically change, not just a constellation being dropped because it's not visible to everybody. That's the dumbest damn thing I've heard in a long time. And I've heard a lot of dumb things. I'm going to get to the complaint about that. I'm spewing insults. Okay. Yeah, I did. Why should people be treated nicely when they do things deserving of ridicule? You're ridiculous, therefore you get ridiculed. The words had a meaning at one time. Anyway, those are two things that are changed. Those are facts. And here's some more. Oscar Mayer is supposed to be spelled one way, not the other. Oscar F. Mayer, spelled M-A-Y-E-R, that was pronounced Mayer, is a German immigrant born in, I can't pronounce it, Germany, hence the reason for pronunciation problems, in 1859. He's a a German immigrant coming into the United States, and he spelled his name one way and said it another, and most Americans bastardized it, just like everybody else who's got a relative that came from Ellis Island found out that names will be twisted. Yeah, that happens. He didn't change the way it should be spelled or pronounced, and you've decided you're going to redact and change his name because it ought to be spelled different because it's an American thing. This guy's from Germany, and the spelling and pronunciation don't match what you think. So therefore, the entire universe changed, and there's this evil cabal changing the names on your wiener package, or you just made a mistake along with everybody else who does and refuses to admit it. And then there's the Depends Undergarment. Yes, this person brought that up. Versus Depend Undergarment. The Depend products for adults were introduced in 1984. Knowing full well there are going to be jokes anyway, because these are diapers for grown-ups. Sorry, but that's just, I'm not mincing words here. Officially, they're trademarked and have always been as Depend Undergarments. If you buy a box of something with singular name like Depend, they even insist in the literature that you have to call it a box of 10 Depend Undergarments. It's so uncomfortable to say, but because of that, yes, this is the marketing guru thing, you can't not remember the name of it, even though it's a very generic name, Depend. Dependable Undergarments was already taken. Depends sounds like it depends on this and this. It has an ambiguous name. But the word depend doesn't have an ambiguous meaning. It means you depend on them. That's why they chose it. And yes, if you're curious about it, they slapped around a bunch of names and wrote it down. You can take a class in college on marketing. I took a class on packaging for things for sales. I know how to fold and fluff and modify things. I know how to break down boxes efficiently to where they look like they're right out of the printing place to put your stuff in. They're called cartons, by the way, not cardboard boxes. I know how to design packaging. I know this stuff because I was going to be, yes, this is scary, I was going to be someone who came up with package designs. Because it's actually, you know, it's a design job. It's kind of an artsy-fartsy job, and you can do some mechanical work and stuff, but it's really reliable because companies want to make stuff sellable, not syllable. Anyway, they were named Depend Undergarments because it would force you to say something or remember them in a way that doesn't sound grammatically correct in any way. And a box of them called Depends isn't allowed. Now, the other thing is, the product's official name has always been Depend Undergarments, in quotes, with a period at the end of a sentence. They have rules about how you say this so that it will get embedded in people's heads. It was never called Depends, and that was just a shorthand for people to use. Their official sales literature forbid it. If you do that in the presence of the salespeople, you'll be not allowed to do sales because you're breaking brand. If you've ever had to deal with Salesforce, you'll hear this expression a lot. So no, that's not a Mandela Effect, nor is the 13th constellation or Oscar Mayer's name being unpalatable to Americans. If you were working at Ellis Island, I would have had a really weird last name, I'm sure. You guys are pathetic. Come on. Oh, that's right. I have mental health disorders, and my videos prove it, because I spew insults, and I need to get help. Never mind that other people, or maybe the same person, post comments like, "You're part of this." Part of what? The conspiracy to make me look bad when I get words wrong, including the spelling of someone's name. M-A-Y-E-R. There's a place in town called Fred Meyer. Not Fred Myers. Possessive. Fred Meyer or Fred Myers with an S without it being possessive. Yes, that's part of branding. Making unconventional spellings and typings and stuff. My channel name is WAPTEK. It's derived from what my job was and my actual name. It's a brand. It doesn't have a meaning, if you do it right, that's beyond it being memorable. Nobody. I don't want to encourage people to become salespeople, but you used to go to college to learn how to do sales. There was classes in this, marketing. Maybe you guys are being, I don't know, turned into a viral marketing campaign by repeatedly writing out Oscar Mayer brand name and Depend Undergarment names. Half the Mandela effects are things that cause people to see brand names come up in their search and result. None of you are getting that you're being played by Madison Avenue. Excellent. Then I got this little lovely one. The Mandela Effect is a psyop. There are people actively trying to make Americans think there's been some kind of reality timeline parallel universe shift to keep us continually off balance and chasing non-existent rabbits in the rabbit hole. Google search is being gamed. Genuine effort is being put against keeping us off balance from reality. That was a person who became a convert after hearing this Depend Undergarment one, because he was old enough to remember when they first came out on the market. Most of you are not. My contention is that you're being tricked into repeatedly saying stuff about brand names over and over again. Some people, some of the stuff you guys have brought up, I haven't thought about in decades, including a couple of movies recently brought up that I haven't actually done videos on, that are getting sequels now. Gee, I wonder if someone told you to look up those movies and say there's Mandela Effect, so that it gets buzz before the... You guys are doing stuff without getting paid for it, by a bunch of people manipulating you, and you don't get it. The first person who came up with this stuff is doing a Gish Gallop. Let's get this done. There's a treadmill. If you're doing a Gish Gallop, it's based on Dwayne Gish. That's the naming for it anyway. It's actually been done for a long time. All of the Mandela effects, add them together. Just find out how many of them there are. That doesn't mean that they're valid. That doesn't mean there's something going on. Just how many. Okay, does that number actually go down? Well, that means no one can disprove it. No, because people like this come in here and get mad at me for disproving something, and then don't talk about what I disproved. They just poke some more in. This is a Gish Gallop. The 13th constellation, that's recorded in history why it was knocked off the list. Fred Meyer and Oscar Mayer and all these other, those are names of people. I had a friend who got mad at me for pointing out that the Segway wasn't pronounced Sedgway. It's called Segway because it's a play on words and it makes fun of it being a Segway. He didn't want to listen to that. And then weeks later he found out he was wrong and then decided, oh, I never said that. If you're watching, you're still an idiot. Reality and history that's recorded is being ignored, and people in this country, specifically the United States, are being tricked into deciding that recorded history and facts take a backseat to your personal vindictive, moral outrage-based fear that someone might find out that you made a mistake. And Madison Avenue is playing it up so that you jack up brand names in the search-in results. Bravo. You are now corporate bitches. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and good luck with it.